Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of U.S. state quarter-dollar coins, as some of these coins are rare and can make you rich overnight. In this video, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today. We are diving into one of the most celebrated and widely collected coins in American history, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar dated 1776 to 1976, better known as the Bicentennial quarter. This is no ordinary coin. It was minted to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the United States of America, and for collectors, it represents both patriotism and potential hidden value. Listen carefully and enjoy this video until the very end, because what looks like just another quarter could actually be worth a fortune. The Bicentennial quarter was issued in 1975 and 1976 to honor the 200th anniversary of American independence. These coins were part of a special program that also included the half-dollar and the dollar coin. Instead of bearing a single year, these quarters carry the dual date, 1776 to 1976. Reminding everyone that the United States had reached 2 centuries of freedom. Millions of these coins entered circulation, making them some of the most recognizable pieces of American coinage. Now let's talk about the design, which makes this coin stand out from all other Washington quarters. On the obverse, we still see the familiar profile of George Washington, originally designed by John Flanagan. However, what makes this coin so special is the reverse side. The U.S. Mint held a national design competition for the bicentennial coinage, and the winning design for the quarter came from Jack L. H.R. It features a colonial drummer boy standing proudly with his drum, symbolizing the spirit of independence. To the left of the drummer is a torch surrounded by 13 stars, representing the original 13 colonies that declared independence in 1776. This design is deeply patriotic, and it gives the coin an iconic status that collectors continue to admire decades later. But why is a bicentennial quarter, which millions of people have seen and spent, considered valuable? The answer lies in condition, rarity, and errors. Most bicentennial quarters you'll find in pocket change today are heavily circulated. They've been used in everyday transactions for nearly 50 years, meaning they're worn down, scratched, and of little value beyond their face value. However, coins that were never spent and remain in pristine, uncirculated condition are far rarer and can already be worth more than their original denomination. Now let's explore the world of minting errors, which is where things get very interesting. Some bicentennial quarters were struck with dramatic errors that make them unique and highly desirable to collectors. These errors include double die strikes, where parts of the design, such as the drummer's details, the lettering, or the stars, appear doubled. Others include off-center strikes, where the design is visibly misaligned, or broad strikes, where the coin lacks a proper rim. There are also coins struck on defective planchets, which can result in unusual colors, missing details, or incomplete layers of metal. Each of these mistakes transforms an ordinary coin into something rare and valuable. One of the most fascinating aspects of the bicentennial quarter is that some were also struck in special silver-clad versions. These were not made for general circulation, but were sold in collector sets. While the majority of bicentennial quarters are copper-nickel clad, the silver-clad pieces are highly sought after, especially in perfect condition. Collectors pay close attention to these silver issues, and in top grades, their value skyrockets. Think about it. A coin that represents America's 200th birthday, struck with errors or preserved in flawless condition, is not just money, it's a piece of history. Collectors treasure these coins not only because of their rarity, but because of the story they tell. They are a connection to America's celebration of freedom and independence, and that emotional link makes them even more desirable. When we talk about value, it's important to remember that not every bicentennial quarter will make you rich. Ordinary, worn-out coins are still only worth 25 cents. But the real treasures are those pristine, uncirculated examples or error coins that survive by chance. These are the coins that go from pocket change to priceless collectibles. For collectors, searching for bicentennial quarters is an exciting adventure. Imagine sifting through rolls of quarters from the bank and spotting one with an unusual shine, a misaligned strike, or a double detail on the drummer's image. That one coin could be the difference between finding ordinary change and uncovering a life-changing treasure. The popularity of the bicentennial quarter also ensures that demand will remain strong for years to come. Collectors of all ages know this design and often want it in their collections. That means high-quality examples and error coins will always attract serious attention at auctions and from private buyers. Now we come to the part you've been waiting for, the incredible value reveal. While millions of bicentennial quarters are still out there, only a small fraction are rare enough or perfect enough to command extraordinary prices. If you happen to own a bicentennial Washington quarter dollar dated 1776 to 1976 that is in flawless, uncirculated condition, or one that carries a dramatic minting error, that coin could be worth as much as $84,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $84,000 for a single quarter that many people have overlooked for decades. That is the magic of coin collecting. History, artistry, rarity, and condition come together to turn a simple 25-cent piece into a national treasure. So, my fellow collectors, the next time you see a 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Take a closer look at the details. Examine the drummer, the stars, the torch, and the rim. Check for unusual doubling, off-center strikes, or any other signs of error. You never know. You might be holding a piece of American history worth tens of thousands of dollars. Top 2, we're going to take a deep dive into the United States of America Washington quarter dollar dated 1967. Now, don't let the ordinary appearance of this coin fool you. While many people see it as just another quarter, this year carries a unique story, and some of these coins are so rare and valuable that they have stunned collectors around the world. So stay with me, listen carefully, and enjoy this journey, because by the end of the video, you'll understand why the 1967 Washington quarter is no ordinary coin and how certain examples can be worth a small fortune. Let's start with a little bit of background. The Washington quarter series began in 1932, originally intended as a one-year commemorative coin for the 200th birthday of George Washington. But the design became so popular that it stayed, and by 1967, the quarter had already become one of the most common coins in American circulation. But here's the twist. The mid-1960s were a turbulent time for U.S. coinage. Silver was being phased out of circulating coins, and the country was experiencing what was known as the coin shortage. From 1965 through 1967, the U.S. Mint made some significant changes that directly impacted the Washington quarter. First, it's important to note that quarters from 1967 are made of copper and nickel, not silver. By this time, the silver content had been completely removed from quarters to save costs. This shift to clad coinage makes 1967 quarters different from their earlier silver cousins. Second, during this period, mint marks were completely eliminated. That's right. You won't find a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco on a 1967 quarter. Every single one was struck without a mint mark to discourage collectors from hoarding and to keep coins circulating during the shortage. At first glance, this might make the 1967 quarter seem ordinary or even boring. But coin collectors know better. This is exactly the type of coin where hidden treasures can be found, because some were struck with unusual errors, varieties, or survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. And these are the examples that carry incredible value today. Now, let's talk about errors, the magic word that excites every coin hunter. The 1967 Washington quarter has several known error varieties that make it stand out. For example, there are double-die obverse quarters where the lettering, especially the word Liberty or In God We Trust, shows visible doubling. Imagine holding a coin where the motto looks doubled. It's instantly recognizable and highly collectible. Another valuable error is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet is not properly aligned during the striking process, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted dramatically to one side. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, the value of the coin can rise sharply. There are also broad strikes, where the coin is struck outside of the collar, resulting in a wider and distorted appearance. And let's not forget die cracks, clipped planchets, and missing details, all of which add to the coin's uniqueness. But one of the most fascinating aspects of the 1967 Washington quarter is the existence of special mint sets. Since the U.S. Mint did not produce traditional proof coins during 1965, 1966, and 1967, they instead issued special mint sets. These sets were sold to collectors and contained coins with a higher level of finish than normal circulation strikes. A 1967 quarter from a special mint set in flawless condition can be incredibly valuable, especially if it carries a cameo or deep cameo contrast. Collectors go wild for these coins because they showcase the design in the sharpest detail with mirror-like surfaces. When you look at the Washington quarter design itself, you'll see why it's so beloved. The obverse features the iconic bust of George Washington designed by John Flanagan, with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The reverse showcases the bold heraldic eagle, wings spread wide, standing on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches beneath. It's a design that symbolizes both strength and peace, and in 1967, it continued to represent American resilience during a decade of great change. Now let's talk about the market. Collectors today are constantly on the lookout for rare 1967 Washington quarters. A heavily circulated example may only be worth face value, but once you step into higher conditions, uncirculated, special mint set coins, or error coins, the story changes dramatically. Coin grading plays a huge role here. A 1967 quarter graded MS-67 or higher can fetch hundreds, even thousands of dollars, and when combined with dramatic minting errors, the value can soar even higher. Think about it like this. Most people spend quarters without a second thought, yet tucked away in a collection or inside a special mint set box could be a coin that collectors are willing to pay thousands for. And it's not just about money. For collectors, owning a rare 1967 Washington quarter is about holding onto a piece of U.S. history from a time when the mint was making radical changes to its coinage system. It's about owning something unique that connects the past to the present, and now, the moment you've been waiting for, the incredible value reveal. While most 1967 quarters are worth only 25 cents, the rarest examples, those struck with dramatic errors, preserved in flawless special mint set condition, or carrying exceptional doubling, have sold for astonishing amounts. In fact, the most valuable 1967 Washington quarter has been valued at an unbelievable $81,000. Yes, you heard that right. $81,000 for a single quarter that was minted in a year when most people thought coins were ordinary and unremarkable. That's the magic of numismatics. What seems common can, under the right conditions, transform into a treasure worth more than you ever imagined. So, my fellow collectors, the next time you come across a 1967 Washington quarter, don't overlook it. Take a closer look. Examine the details, the strike, and the surfaces. You never know, you might just be holding a coin that could change your life. Top 3, we're diving into a very special piece of American coinage history, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from the year 1968. At first glance, it might look like just another quarter, but as collectors know very well, appearances can be deceiving. Within this year of production, the mint created quarters that today are considered rare, valuable, and in some cases, truly extraordinary. By the end of this video, you'll know why 1968 was such an important year for the Washington quarter series, what kinds of errors and varieties make these coins so sought after, and how one special example can command a jaw-dropping price. To understand the significance of the 1968 Washington quarter, let's step back in time for a moment. The Washington quarter series began in 1932, introduced to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The coin's obverse was designed by John Flanagan, featuring the classic bust of Washington with the words "Liberty" above his head and the motto, "In God We Trust" to the left. The reverse carried the bold heraldic eagle, wings outstretched, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath. This design became iconic and remained the face of America's 25-cent piece for decades. But what makes the 1968 issue so fascinating is the historical context. Just a few years earlier, in 1965, the U.S. Mint had removed silver from quarters completely, shifting instead to a clad composition of copper and nickel. That means every quarter from 1968 was made without any silver content. unlike earlier issues. Another important point is that in 1965 through 1967, the mint eliminated mint marks entirely to discourage coin hoarding during the coin shortage crisis. But in 1968, mint marks made their return, and that makes the 1968 quarters a turning point. You'll find 1968 quarters with either a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco if they were proof coins. The Philadelphia Mint, however, continued without a mint mark. This simple detail is incredibly important for collectors because mint marks often determine rarity, and when combined with certain error varieties, they can send values soaring. Now, let's talk about errors and varieties, the real treasures hidden in this year's quarters. One of the most famous types of errors for the 1968 quarter is the double die variety. In these coins, you can see clear doubling in the inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust, or even in the date itself. Imagine holding a coin where the year 1968 looks doubled under magnification. That's a sign you're looking at something very special. Another category that makes collectors excited is off-center strikes. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned in the press, and part of the design is missing or shifted dramatically to one side. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still visible. Broad strikes, where the coin expands wider than normal due to a missing collar during minting, are another dramatic and collectible error. And then there are clipped planchets, where a piece of the coin's metal is missing because the blank was cut incorrectly before striking. These mistakes are rare, noticeable, and add serious value. On top of all this, die cracks, cuds, and other striking anomalies can also elevate a 1968 quarter into a collector's dream. But the real crown jewel of this year's issue comes from the San Francisco Mint. In 1968, proof coins were struck once again after being absent during the coin shortage years. These proof quarters were made with extra care, struck multiple times on specially prepared dies to create sharp details and mirror-like finishes. Among these, deep cameo proofs, coins that have frosted designs contrasting against glassy backgrounds, are especially prized. A 1968 Washington quarter in flawless proof condition with deep cameo surfaces can command huge premiums. Collectors value these coins not only for their rarity, but also for their historical context. The year 1968 marked a return to normalcy for American coinage after years of experimentation and change. Owning a quarter from this year is like holding a piece of that turning point in U.S. monetary history. And when that quarter happens to have an error or a perfect proof finish, its value skyrockets. Now let's turn to the question everyone has been waiting for. How much are these coins actually worth? A circulated 1968 Washington quarter might only be worth face value. But once you move into uncirculated grades, special proof issues, or error coins, the story changes. An uncirculated Denver Mint quarter graded MS66 or MS67 can already fetch impressive prices at auction. A flawless 1968 S-proof coin with deep cameo surfaces can bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And dramatic mint errors, especially double dies or highly off-center strikes, have sold for shocking amounts to collectors who crave something unique. The coin market is driven by rarity, demand, and condition. And when all three align, that's when record-breaking sales happen. Imagine someone finding a 1968 Washington quarter tucked away in an old collection, not realizing its worth until a specialist points out the rare features. Stories like these are what make coin collecting so thrilling. And now, here's the moment you've been waiting for, the most valuable example of the 1968 Washington quarter. Believe it or not, while most quarters from this year are common pocket change, one spectacular specimen, preserved in pristine condition with the right combination of rarity and error, has been valued at an extraordinary $79,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $79,000 for a single Washington quarter from 1968. That's the kind of discovery that can turn an ordinary coin into a life-changing treasure. So the next time you come across a Washington quarter from 1968, take a closer look. Check the mint mark, study the details, and see if there are any unusual features. You might just be holding a piece of history worth far more than 25 cents. We're going to talk about a fascinating piece of American coinage, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1972. At first glance, It might look like any other quarter that you've spent on a cup of coffee or tucked into a vending machine. But trust me, this year of the Washington quarter carries some incredible secrets. If you are a coin lover, a history enthusiast, or simply someone who enjoys learning about rare finds that could be worth big money, then listen carefully and enjoy the full story behind this coin. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932, created to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. Designed by John Flanagan, the obverse features the bust of Washington, while the reverse showcases the bold eagle, wings outstretched over arrows and olive branches. For decades, this design represented strength, heritage, and continuity in U.S. coinage. By the time 1972 came around, the Washington Quarter had already become a familiar face in American currency. But what makes this particular year stand out is not just its design, but the unique conditions surrounding its production and the valuable errors that collectors chase today to understand why the 1972 Washington Quarter can be valuable. We need to look at the minting history of that time. By 1972, the mint was still producing quarters in a copper-nickel-clad composition, introduced in 1965 after silver was removed from circulation coins. That meant no Washington quarters from 1972 were struck in silver for regular circulation. However, the mint struck these coins at different facilities: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a D mint mark, and San Francisco with an S mint mark for proof coins. Each of these carries its own story, and depending on condition, strike, and especially errors, they can range from ordinary pocket change to highly valuable collectibles. Let's start with the Philadelphia minted quarters. These were produced in huge numbers, but among them are examples that stand out due to striking errors. Double die obverse quarters are especially popular. These are coins where inscriptions like "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date show signs of doubling. Under magnification, these details look as if they've been stamped twice, making the coin instantly more desirable. Then we have the Denver mint quarters. While these two were made in large numbers, sharp-eyed collectors search for varieties such as repunched mint marks, where the D was struck more than once, leaving shadows or overlapping impressions. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or broad strikes from Denver coins also bring added value. When these errors are dramatic enough and the date is still visible, collectors will pay impressive premiums for them. Now, let's talk about the San Francisco Mint. In 1972, the Mint issued proof sets, and the quarters in these sets were struck with extra care. Some of them featured deep cameo contrasts, where the frosted portrait of Washington stands out against a brilliant mirror-like background. A flawless proof quarter from 1972 with deep cameo surfaces can be breathtaking to look at and highly valuable in the eyes of serious collectors. Proof coins with errors, such as double strikes or missing elements, are especially rare and command strong interest at auction. What makes the 1972 Washington Quarter even more exciting is that it comes from a period when minting technology wasn't as perfect as it is today. Dies wore down quickly, alignment issues were more common, and quality control wasn't always flawless. That means many quarters slipped into circulation with small mistakes, tiny imperfections that, decades later, have become treasures for those who know what to look for. But value doesn't come only from errors. Condition is just as important. A 1972 quarter in heavily circulated condition is likely worth only face value. But if you find one in mint state, with no wear and full sharp details, the value rises dramatically. Collectors especially prize coins graded MS65, MS66, or even higher. The difference between an average circulated coin and a top-graded uncirculated coin can be the difference between a quarter worth 25 cents and one worth thousands of dollars. The thrill of coin collecting lies in the hunt. Imagine picking up a handful of change, spotting a 1972 quarter, and noticing something unusual about it. Maybe the mint mark looks doubled. Maybe the date looks slightly off. Or maybe the strike seems misaligned. That moment of discovery can turn an ordinary day into an extraordinary one. And when collectors and dealers confirm you've found a rare variety, it can lead to a life-changing surprise. Over the years, many stories have surfaced of 1972 Washington quarters selling for astonishing amounts due to their condition or rare mint errors. It shows that even coins we think of as ordinary can hide enormous value if we take the time to study them. So, what is the ultimate value of the most exceptional 1972 Washington quarter? While most will only be worth face value, and many high-grade coins or error coins can reach into the thousands, the most remarkable known example, featuring the perfect combination of rarity, error, and pristine preservation, has been valued at an incredible $77,000. Yes, you heard that right. $77,000 for a single Washington quarter from 1972. That's why coin collecting is so exciting. Every coin in your pocket has a story, and some of those stories can turn into treasures. Top 5, we're exploring one of the most intriguing coins from the 20th century, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1974. At first glance, it may look like just another common quarter that you could use in a vending machine or a parking meter. But behind this seemingly ordinary piece of metal lies a story filled with history, fascinating errors, and a collector's dream that has shocked many in the numismatic world. The Washington quarter has been a familiar sight in American currency since 1932. Designed by John Flanagan to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, this quarter features the iconic bust of the first U.S. president on the obverse. The reverse, until 1998, displayed the majestic eagle with wings outstretched, perched on a bundle of arrows and framed by olive branches, a symbol of both strength and peace. By the time 1974 arrived, the Washington quarter was a coin that every American knew well. But even within a series so widely circulated, certain years carry surprises, and the 1974 edition is no exception. Let's set the stage. In 1974, the U.S. Mint was striking quarters in copper-nickel-clad composition. Gone were the silver quarters that collectors cherished from earlier decades, phased out after 1964. However, even without silver, the 1974 quarters have attracted attention thanks to their intriguing minting variations and the occasional rare error that turns an everyday coin into a collector's treasure. Now, these coins were produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with the D mint mark, and San Francisco with the S mint mark for proof coins. Each mint has its own story. The Philadelphia quarters are the most common. But within this huge production run, some coins display striking anomalies. Collectors have documented double-die obverse varieties, coins where inscriptions like "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or even the date 1974 appear doubled. Under magnification, this doubling becomes clear, making these coins stand out instantly. A strong double die from this year can be worth far more than face value. Moving on to the Denver Mint. The 1974 D quarters are also widely collected, and like many coins from Denver during this period, they are known for repunched mint marks and striking irregularities. A repunched D mint mark shows signs of being stamped more than once in slightly different positions. Quarters with off-center strikes, broad strikes, or clipped planchets from Denver are especially desirable. When these errors are obvious and dramatic, they make the coin unique and add significant value. And then we have the San Francisco proof quarters. These were not intended for everyday circulation, but for collectors who purchased proof sets directly from the mint. Struck with polished dies on specially prepared planchets, proof quarters from 1974 often show deep cameo contrasts, where the frosted details of Washington's portrait stand out against a mirror-like field. When these proof coins are graded as flawless or contain unusual striking errors, their value can skyrocket. But let's talk more about errors, because that's where things get really exciting. Error coins are like accidents of history. In 1974, there were instances of double strikes, off-metal strikes, and even transitional planchet errors that slipped through. Imagine finding a 1974 quarter struck on a wrong planchet, like a dime or foreign coin blank. Those rare mistakes transform an ordinary piece of currency into something extraordinary. Collectors also watch for off-center strikes, where the design is visibly misaligned, leaving part of the coin blank. Another popular error is the clipped planchet, where the coin appears to have a bite taken out of it due to a mistake in the cutting of the blank metal. Each of these error types makes the coin scarcer, and scarcity is always a key driver of value. Condition also plays a crucial role in value. Most 1974 quarters found in circulation today are worn from decades of use. But a coin that has survived in pristine mint state condition, graded MS65, MS66, or even higher, can be worth far more than one that has passed through countless hands. Add an error or variety to that high grade, and the value multiplies dramatically. One of the most interesting things about the 1974 quarter is that it came out right before the major redesign for the Bicentennial celebration in 1976. That means these coins represent the final years of the traditional eagle reverse before the 2-year special design took over. For collectors, this makes 1974 part of an important transitional period in U.S. coinage history. Coin collectors and treasure hunters often share stories of finding rare 1974 quarters that were sitting unnoticed in old collections or even in pocket change. That's part of the thrill. You never know when the coin you're holding could be the one with the doubling, the off-center strike, or the perfect mint state preservation that sets it apart from the millions of others. So, what does this all mean in terms of value? While most 1974 quarters are still worth only face value, certain rare examples, particularly those with dramatic minting errors or those preserved in the highest possible condition, have sold for absolutely astonishing amounts. And among them, the most exceptional 1974 Washington quarter, one that combined rarity, condition, and striking uniqueness, has been valued at an incredible $75,000. Yes, you heard that right. $75,000 for a coin that many people would overlook as ordinary change. That is the magic of numismatics, discovering hidden worth in plain sight. Next time you come across a 1974 quarter, don't just pass it off as another coin. Take a closer look. Inspect the date, check the mint mark, study the details, and see if you might just be holding a treasure. You never know. It could be the discovery that changes everything. Thank you so much for joining me today on this exciting journey into the story of the 1974 Washington quarter. If you enjoyed learning about this coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another adventure into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins. Until next time, happy collecting, and remember, the next great coin discovery could be sitting right in your pocket. Asterisk.